I started practicing the skills and I found the skill of respect. So I'm going to be the most respectful wife ever. And my husband comes home one day, I remember, and he's carrying all these groceries. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. You went shopping. You make me so happy. You are the best. And he's like, well, you're welcome. Where should I put them? And I'm like, oh, wherever you think. I'm relinquishing all my control and everything. And he's like, well, where should I put the groceries? I didn't set up this house. You did. I don't know where to put them. Where should I put them? Oh, wherever you think. And I'm thinking in my mind, wherever he puts them will be the best place, and it doesn't matter. And all I care about is our intimacy. And I'm being like this whole perfect wife. And he just keeps asking me, where should I put them? And then this kind of scenario played out a few more times, and till one day he did have a bone to pick with me. He said, when you say whatever you think, I feel very stupid. I feel like I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, and you're telling me whatever you think, and I don't like it. Please do not say that again.
Welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast, where it's all about fixing your marriage without your man's conscious efforts, that you feel desired, taken care of, and special, even if your relationship feels hopeless. I'm Laura Doyle, and today we're going to answer the question, why is my husband so defensive? My guest, Rachel, studied the 6 intimacy skills before her relationship even started, but found out that practicing them in theory was different than practicing them in her marriage. After making some adjustments, she is married to the best husband in the world, and she's going to share what she did so you can do it too. That's coming up. But first, let's talk about what to do when your husband is so defensive, because it's annoying when you're trying to have a conversation and he either clams up and gets cold or else raises his voice and starts arguing with you. You just want to say, knock it off, and have him calm down and relax so you can have a normal conversation. It can seem mysterious too, like, why is he so riled up today? I used to be so confused about why my husband would look exasperated and rub his forehead when all I said was, why don't you order new checks online instead of physically going to the bank? But it turns out John is not just a defensive guy. Without meaning to or without realizing it, I was offending him. I didn't think he should be offended, but he was. And now that I understand better about how I was offending him, it's not that surprising that he was reacting so badly before, because in hindsight, I was pretty offensive. And even once I realized it, it wasn't that easy to stop, because I didn't see an alternative at first. I thought if I didn't say the offensive things, that I was just going to be a victim of my terrible husband forever. And let's not forget, ever. But I was wrong. There was no real payoff to the things I was doing to offend him. They just weren't worth the price of admission. And you might be thinking, but Laura, you seem so nice and so sweet and definitely super funny. So how could you have been making your husband defensive? Right? Well, here are 3 ways that I'm embarrassed to say I unintentionally made him feel like he had to protect himself from little old me. Number 1, I was too helpful. Yeah, so helpful is in quotes here. I was too helpful because my suggestions were not all that helpful. I thought that they were, because obviously it's faster to order checks online than just to go to the actual bank and get them there, right? Saves gas, saves time. I mean, who's with me? So I was just stating the obvious. That was this morning, by the way. So I know better now, but still sometimes I fall into a little helpful pothole. And I realized right away I was offending him because he slumped his shoulders in exasperation like this. It's so dramatic, right? Like I was on his back. What? I was just trying to help. But the subtext was, I'm so much smarter than you are about getting checks, so do it my way. And that's a little disrespectful. Well, very disrespectful, actually. Let's be honest. I mean, John is perfectly competent to order checks. I can trust him. There is no need to interfere with how he's doing that. But sometimes I still find it irresistible to share my infinite wisdom about acquiring checks, which I had given consideration to for at least 10 seconds before bestowing my helpful advice to him. So sometimes I'm still too helpful. I know. And then I regret it because I don't like it when he gets defensive because then I'm busted. And then the only thing to do is to apologize. Or else I could continue to feel hairy and dirty for a while and then apologize. All right, number 2, I was suffocating him. Another way I was eliciting his defensiveness was by depriving him of oxygen, by which I mean respect. I interrupted him. I dismissed him. I walked away while he was talking. I contradicted his ideas. And if he seemed guarded, well, that was a pretty good sign that I may have just been disrespectful in some way, even if I didn't make a helpful suggestion. That's just one way to be disrespectful. There are many ways, and I have sadly tried them all. And none of them feel very good for either one of us. Definitely not for me, definitely not for him. And I'm not perfect, but this is an area where using the cheat phrases and the practices from the 6 intimacy skills, like I hear you and whatever you think, those have helped me improve by light years from what I used to be like. I'm a lot better now. Number 3 is not expressing my desires. So when John raises his voice or gets a frustrated look on his face, I'll think, what's up with him? And I used to just stop there and think, well, he's obviously got some kind of problem. So annoying. That's his problem. But now, after practicing intimacy skills for decades, my next thought is, what just happened? Did I maybe contribute to him responding this way? And one of the times I notice him getting defensive is when I can't figure out what I desire. So he doesn't know how to make me happy. When I'm being unpleasable because I can't decide what groceries I want him to pick up, or whether I want to keep those decorations in the attic for next year, or whether I want a snack too, or just maybe to eat all of his snack, he gets frustrated. He gets defensive. So one way to have him respond to me better is to have my finger on the pulse of what I want and express it clearly. When I do that, he's not in the dark about how to make me happy, how to succeed at that, which is like one of his highest priorities. That's making me happy. That's what he wants to do. When he doesn't know how to make me happy, he gets frustrated. So it's up to me to be responsible for my desires. And his umbrage is now just a reminder that I'm deciding not to decide, which is annoying to him. And kind of to me too, because who really wants to be sitting on a fence, right? They hurt your butt. Can my husband ever be defensive just because he's having a bad day? Well, I'm sure that could happen. But when I'm on my game, being a total intimacy skills ninja, it creates a lot of emotional safety around here. We both feel pretty safe. And when you're safe, there's nothing to protect against. Everybody can just be their best self. Like when you first got together, right? It gets pretty peaceful and playful around here. It's pretty playful. And okay, it gets a little silly. It gets immature around here even. Fine, that's true. Which is why I like knowing what I did and what I can do to fix it when my husband gets defensive. If you're wondering how to get started with fixing your relationship and making it shiny again, then you need a roadmap. Get 6 simple steps to follow that will set your relationship up for success. Discover 3 common mistakes that wives make trying to fix their relationship that just make things worse when you download my free Adored Wife Roadmap. You can do that at getcherished.com. Go to getcherished.com now to get your roadmap in minutes. My guest Rachel studied the six intimacy skills before her relationship even started, but found that practicing them in theory was different than practicing them in her marriage. After making some adjustments, she's married to the best husband in the world, the best man on the planet. She's going to share what she did so you can do it too. Rachel, welcome to the Empowered Wife podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you. Happy to be here too. So excited.
Cool. Okay, well, I'm going to ask you what was happening in the bad old days. What was happening in the bad old days, Rachel?
So I was lucky enough to find the skills before any bad old days. I didn't even know so I had dated him, but I had just gotten engaged and my friend gave me the book. I mean, she didn't give it to me. She told me about the book, The Surrendered Wife, and I bought it and I loved it from the first second. And I was ready to do everything. And I had already started I'm practicing the skills right away. So the second I learned about them.
So I think this is so interesting because I know for me, when I was 22 and just falling in love with my husband, like I didn't feel like I needed any help. I just thought, we've got this, everything's perfect. But there was something about the book that really spoke to you. Like what did you like about it so much? Because you were probably pretty happy in your relationship already, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah, for sure. I just am the kind of person who is always so scared that I'm not doing the right thing. And I want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing, that I'm the best person also in the world, not only my husband, also me. Um, and I just wanted to make sure that I'm doing this marriage thing right. And I was just I am so motivated to being the best wife, which sometimes doesn't serve me, but then I work on it. So
Tell me about that. What do you mean sometimes it doesn't serve you to want to be the best wife?
So when I first got married, I was so into being the best wife and I was so serious about practicing the skills and doing it right that sometimes I would feel like maybe I'm not being the best wife. And how do I know that I'm really being the best wife? And if my husband didn't respond the way it said in the book, then how do I know that I am still doing a good job? And I remember this, I guess, is bad old days. I remember crying a lot and my husband's like, "Why are you crying?" And I'm like, "Because I don't know if I'm a good wife."
Oh,
And he's like, "Well, you are a good wife." And I'm like, "But how do I know?" Until I made a spouse fulfilling prophecy that I said, well, it was kind of a spouse fulfilling prophecy and also something that you wrote in your book. I had to read your book like 12 times. Um, so I said, I'm the best wife unless my husband tells me otherwise. Like you wrote in your book, I remember, if my husband has something to talk to me about, a bone to pick with me, I think you wrote, then he's a responsible adult and he can tell me. So that got me out of those crying situations. So that was now I know I'm the best wife, and if my husband has a problem with me, he's a responsible, capable adult who can tell me I don't like when you do that. So
wow. Okay, I love this. So you had like an insecurity that maybe even though you knew you were doing the intimacy skills, you were bringing those with you from the day you got married. There was still like deep down you were worried, kind of wondering like, am I doing this right? Or am I really the best I can be? And you were able to kind of to overcome that, right? To let that go by giving, and it sounds like almost a self-fulfilling prophecy, like I am the best wife unless my husband tells me otherwise. And then you'll take action at that point. But the rest of the time you can kind of walk around thinking like I'm a great wife. I'm the best wife. Do I
yeah.
have that right?
Of course. Yes, that is exactly it.
I love it. I love it. And so that, so you, the crying, you're not crying anymore about that.
No, that lasted about like a week.
Okay. Okay. That's not too long. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's pretty
See, I
good.
mean, if I didn't have the skills, it might have still been lasting, you know. Who knows what would
Yeah.
have happened?
Who knows? Who knows? And does your husband ever have a bone to pick with you?
Hmm, that's a good question. I would say no, but like if he does, it's just like a 1 second thing. Like, oh, like, can you stop saying that? And I'll say, sure. You know, not like not like it's not like he loves every I would say he loves 99% of things that I do. And then there are a couple of things where he's like, well, I need you to, not say that or do that. So,
Yeah.
so no, but he will tell me if he's not pleased with something I'm doing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So you can trust that. You don't have to
yeah.
be vigilant looking for it if it's not there, if he's not saying it.
Yeah. And
Okay.
it's a
Yeah.
specific action. So it's not like you're a bad wife in general. Never. No. It's like, well, when you put that down, if you put it there, it bothers me. So can you put it and move it a little over? So,
Yeah. 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 That's the okay. Yeah. I love it. And so it sounds like things have always been pretty peaceful at your house.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, I get confused if it's because my husband is the best or if it's because I practice the skills.
I love it. So, but the skills practicing him is a little different. There was a little bit of an adjustment, it sounds
Oh,
like,
yeah.
from,
Yeah.
so tell me about that.
So, well, in the beginning, I read the book, and in theory, it sounds all like, how could anyone have any issues at all?
Yeah, right.
I'm sorry.
That's right.
Um, how can anyone have any issues at all? And I started practicing the skills, and I found the skill of respect. So I'm going to be the most respectful wife ever. And my husband comes home one day. I remember, and he's carrying all these groceries. And I'm like, oh, thank you so much. You went shopping. You make me so happy. You are the best. And he's like, well, you're welcome. Where should I put them? And I'm like, oh, wherever you think, I'm relinquishing all my control and everything. And he's like, well, where should I put the groceries? I didn't set up this house. You did. I don't know where to put them. Where should I put them? Oh, wherever you think. And I'm thinking in my mind, wherever he puts them will be the best place. And it doesn't matter. And all I care about is our intimacy. And I'm being like this whole perfect wife. And he just keeps asking me, where should I put them? And then this kind of scenario played out a few more times. And till one day he did have a bone to pick with me, said, when you say whatever you think, I feel very stupid. I feel like I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, and you're telling me whatever you think, and I don't like it. Please do not say that again. And I'm like, I was thinking, is this like an ouch? But like maybe not. And I'm like, I'm just very confused what's going on here, because I'm trying to be a good wife and I'm trying to respect him and defer him to his thinking. And that was confusing until I thought about it, and and I realized that every time he asked me what where should I put the groceries, or where do you want to go? And I realized he was really asking me my desire. And so I messed up with whatever you think. And so I really love whatever you think. And for a while, it took me a long time because it was kind of like a trigger word for him to even say it when it really was the time to say it. So now I haven't said it for long enough that I can say it when it's the right time, but I usually end up just saying it's up to you um, or something like that, or what do you think? Those other phrases because it's just I'm just scared, but that's my own fear. I should get over it.
So, I mean, I love this story. And it sounds like you found your own answers, which I think is remarkable because I think, I, I mean, it is a little tricky to implement the skills by yourself for sure. And when that wasn't working, you could have easily said like, "Oh, this phrase just doesn't work with my husband. Like, we must be different." But you didn't do that. You got to the bottom of it somehow. How did you do that? How did you figure out the distinction between expressing a desire, telling him wanting to know what you desired and him wanting to feel that you trusted him?
Yeah, so in the beginning I was thinking, well, I guess that this skill just my husband does not like it. Um and I was thinking like which other skills are not like I guess you have to um think like more with your husband what works and what doesn't. And I really thought that like in every person's marriage, I'm sure there's like some skills that just don't work with their husband. And um, yeah, that's pretty funny that I thought that because I don't think that anymore. Um, and I think it was when I got the Empowered Wife book because in the Surrendered Wife, I had just read the Surrendered Wife like 12 times. My mother tells me, you already read that book so many times. You're just memorizing which page number it's on. And so then, but then I got the Empowered Wife, and it says there that there's a difference between wherever you want and wherever you think. And sometimes he's asking your opinion, or maybe I heard it on the podcast, but I definitely got it from somewhere. I'm not exactly sure where, but I do think that all the skills work with every husband, and I don't think that there's certain skills
There's
that.
definitely working with yours. Your
Oh yeah,
and for you, I think is what I hear. I think you represent, for me at least, probably a lot of women. Like I think a lot of us felt so much regret that we didn't find the skills sooner, and it's just a joy to see you not only being open to them, but really being passionate about practicing the skills and being your best self and doing it from the word go, from before you said I do. So I love that. Were there other examples of things where you thought, okay, like I've totally got this skill, and then having it go wah wah wah, and then having to kind of adjust your sails?
yeah. So I think just in general, I was very, very serious about the skills, and and I would be putting all my energy to practice them. Um, and that wasn't serving me because, one of the things is being a girl of fun and light and being cheerful and being carefree and enjoying yourself. And my husband would come home and I'd be like, doing the skill of listening. So now I'm sitting down and I'm looking at him and he's talking and I'm saying, I hear you. And then I'm also kind of thinking like the whole time, judging myself, like, is this working? Is this not working? Does he like it? Do I like it? I mean, I guess I never really asked, do I like it? Maybe. But I was thinking like, well, and now I'm being a good listener. And then I wasn't enjoying my marriage sometimes when I was deciding to practice the skills in that way. So or like I would just randomly decide, let's say for the listening, I would randomly decide, like, I haven't done that skill in a while. I must do it. And I just, my husband would come home, I'd be listening, and he's like talking regular. And then I'm like, yeah, I hear you. Uh-huh. Doing all my listening noises. And then he's just like, okay. And I wasn't enjoying myself either because I'm so serious about listening to him. And then I realized, um, so I'm actually in coach training, which is a story on its own. But I realized from coach training that really the main thing is to be enjoying yourself and to be having fun. Um and that made me realize, like, I think I was taking the skills much too seriously, and using them as, like, from coming from fear of having a bad marriage or being a bad wife. And instead I can use them to enjoy myself and enjoy my marriage and show up as my best self and really truly listen, because my husband has incredible things to say and I want to listen to him, and I wouldn't be aware of that before the skills. So I love the connection that I feel when he's talking and I'm listening. So,
Mhm.
you know.
It's so endearing, Rachel. I just love hearing this because it is delicious, right? Your husband's talking and you're listening and you're enjoying it. And it's and I hear you can get caught up. All of us can, right? And well, this is how I'm supposed to do it. This is what Laura says, or what this is what the book says. And really the skills are meant to be enjoyable. It's all about enjoying yourself. And I hear now you seem like you're really enjoying yourself
Oh yeah.
with the skills. Yeah. So you look really happy.
Thank you. I love that. Thank you. So I want to actually say that, with expressing desires, how I got into coach training was, um I just wanted to be a coach and do coach training, but it's a lot of money
It is
and
big investment. Yeah.
big investment, yeah. And I I just decided to tell my husband I would love to become a coach. Um and usually when I said desires, they were more smaller. That was my first big desire. That was my only massive desire. Um and it was so, so, so scary, like, to say that, because I know that my husband always fills my desires, and I wasn't I was scared to get such a big desire. So, but I did it, and I said I'd love to be in coach train. I would love to become a coach. And next thing I know, he filled out the forms and enrolled me, and he calls me at work and he's like, well, you're enrolled. I just paid 5,000 something to to be in coach training. I'm like, what? I received it.
Wow, you received it graciously. That must have been it must have been so exciting. But I also hear you saying, I love you're so accountable. Like I was afraid to express such a big desire. I was afraid to kind of own that desire. And so then to have him jump into action and surprise you by enrolling it, was that also a little scary when that happened? Or
Oh yeah, terrifying. I'm like, I don't even know if I really wanted it. And then I'm just, yeah. But I also knew from the skills, receive, receive, receive. So
ah,
just, like, be that princess. Just get everything you want. Everything. You don't have to not get anything. Literally everything.
well, no wonder you're so bubbling with joy because you are really, and that takes some courage. That Rachel, I see your courage in just being receptive, and there's kind of a vulnerability in it in a way. I mean, he must have been pretty excited to give that to you. He was probably glowing
Oh
also.
yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
So not receiving that would have definitely stopped that virtuous cycle of you being so happy and overjoyed and him feeling so proud that he could give you coach training. So love
Yeah,
that
so
story.
it really is the greatest investment. It's awesome.
So cool. Well, so what is your marriage like now?
Our marriage is just everything that I guess anyone can dream of. My husband is I I respect him up. He's like he's up there. He's the highest in my book. And
He's really smart.
he's a genius. He's the world's genius.
Love
And
it.
he does everything for me. Anything that I want and anything that I don't even say that I want. He just spoils me. He does everything. I don't know how to even describe it. And um yeah, we spend a lot of time together and we enjoy each other and yeah.
So he just loves being your hero, it sounds like. And you love
Right.
having him be your hero.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's beyond peace in the home. It's like joy in your home.
Do
So
it. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, lots to
yeah,
do.
yeah. I
Yeah.
just love that. Well, so what is your tip for someone who is um newlywed and just wanting to start off on the right foot like you are? Wanting to have that joy and to feel like the princess and to be so receptive, to really stretch into receiving things that even feel a little uncomfortable. What's your best suggestion for
So so before I got married, I came in to marriage with um the spouse fulfilling prophecy of no matter what, my husband loves me and always wants to make me happy. So, no matter what it looks like, no matter what he says or does, it is my husband loves me and he always wants me to be happy. And it's the truth for every husband. And, so for example, let's say my husband would say something that was not so nice, or
yeah.
I thought it wasn't so nice. So I would um let's say he would say, let's say I made a whole soup and then he's like, oh, there's not enough salt in it. This really doesn't taste good. And normally that would be pretty insulting.
Yeah.
Um, and then like he would catch himself and be like, oh, I'm so sorry. You worked so hard to make it. And I'm like, oh, I know you love me and always want me to be happy. So I understand like you weren't trying to hurt me. And he's like, yes, yes, oh, like, thank you. Now I don't have to I don't know, buy you flowers and make sure that you're like, yeah, and you're secure and you're good. So that was so helpful for me and so helpful for him. And it just keeps the peace in the home because I'll give you another example. We just had a baby, and
Congratulations.
yeah, so exciting. So in the beginning, my husband, I mean, in the beginning, it's still the beginning. He's like a little scared of the baby. He loves her so much, but like to like burp her or change her, it's like he'll get used to it. So, like he said, those are his words. I'll get used to it. But they're so tiny. So for a moment, I was thinking, like, oh my gosh, he doesn't want to touch his own daughter. But then I remembered he loves us, he loves me, he loves her, and he always wants us to be happy. So, and then I was able to see right away, oh, he's just nervous. He never held a newborn. So, and then I saw so much, oh my gosh, how much he cares. He's asking the doctors all these different questions and making sure that she's good. And I just love it. I think it's so cute. So it's like so sweet for me. I love it. I don't even care if he touches her or not. So it's like you come, I would say come in with that spouse fulfilling prophecy of the truth that your husband loves you and always wants you to be happy. And no matter what it looks like, that is the belief and that is the reality. And you can always gather evidence, which you can always find how it really is true. For example, he loves her so much, he's even scared to touch her. Or, or I forgot my first example of this. Or oh, the soup. Like he look how much he cared. He just was tasting it, and his natural was to say there's not enough salt. And then he all of a sudden realized, oh man, my wife made it. He just didn't realize before. And so like you can always and then it comes true and you see it and it gets like you don't even have to gather the evidence anymore. You just see it everywhere. So
This is like a wisdom bomb right here. I just love it. I love your spouse fulfilling prophecy has always been. My husband loves me. He loves us now. You've updated it since you put birth of your daughter. And it's like how you see the whole world is that your husband loves you and your daughter and he wants you to be happy. And so that's the evidence you gather, and then it feels, it is the reality and it feels like the reality.
yeah.
And it just continues in that direction.
Yeah, and it also makes it so much easier to do deferring to his thinking or just trusting him because you know that he loves me and always wants me to be happy. So um, I remember a time when he wanted to go to a friend's house with me for the weekend, and I told him I really would love to stay home, and he said like kind of like, well, we're going anyway. I mean, like can we just do this? I think it's good. Like we're gonna go. And I'm thinking, okay, well, I don't have to get upset. I don't have to get anything because my husband loves me and he always wants me to be happy and he always wants to do what's best for me. So if he thinks that, and he heard my desire to stay home. So if he thinks that this is the greatest thing for me and for him, then I trust him. And we ended up going and we had a wonderful time. So, and I loved it. And he knew I would love it. Afterwards, he was like, oh, so we shouldn't have gone. You wanted to stay home, right? Like,
You had to rub it in.
you knew I
You
would
had,
love it. How do you know? He's like, yeah, you were just scared. Like,
oh, and is that true? You were a little scared
Yeah.
to
Oh,
go?
yeah. I was just scared of being uncomfortable, but he knew that I love this family. So,
So, and this is such a big gift of being married, I think, is it stretches your horizons a little bit, right? You do things you wouldn't normally do. You wear things you wouldn't normally wear, eat things you wouldn't normally eat, because you're of your husband's influence. And I hear you just deciding to be open to that, even though you don't want to be open to it necessarily, but you're choosing your faith in him.
yeah, it always comes out better. He always knows. He always knows. It's just, he knows what makes me happy. So,
Yeah. So this was you receiving his offer, even though it wasn't your desire, you decided to receive it anyway. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah.
So you're so I want to say like mature, like just wise. You just seem
Aw.
really wise. Uh so I love that. How did your husband feel about you coming on the podcast today?
Oh, well, I received an email inviting me on this podcast, which was so cool. And I was
From me.
yeah, I just thought that was so cool. And I shared that with my husband. And I kind of was like, okay, but obviously I'm not going on because I don't know. Why would I? And he was so excited for me. He said, can you please just do it. It's so cool. It's so fun. You're gonna be so good. And he just was so encouraging, and he just wanted me to do it. So here I am again, trusting my husband, and I'm having the greatest time. So
I
yeah,
love it. So you were going to decline, and he's the one that encouraged you to kind of have an adventure. It sounds like this is a
yeah,
stretch to come
oh yeah,
on, and now that you've run through the waterfall of fear and you're on the other side, sounds like you're feeling good about it.
yeah. This is really fun. Thank
It is,
you.
it is really fun.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel, I want to, I usually ask at the, towards the end, I'll say, what would you tell yourself that you know now? Yeah, I'm going to still ask you that. So what would you say to Rachel if you could go back in time and tell her what you know now?
I would tell her to chill out. She's good. Um, and but really I think I needed everything that happened. I needed to first be so serious about it and then realize, I like my life. I like how it played out. But I would give encouragement. I would just say you're doing awesome. And and the chilling out part, I guess, is you don't have to be perfect. The same way my husband loves me and always wants me to be happy, it's not because I'm perfect at the skills. It's just unconditional. There's no reason. He just loves me and always wants me to be happy. And I mean, I've seen that so many times with all your stories about women who weren't perfect with the skills and their husbands still came back. So uh, the husbands just love their wives, and you don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to be perfect to be awesome, and you are awesome. So that's what I would.
Oh,
I'm
and
still saying that now.
I love that. And so, not only married to the best man in the world, but you are the best wife in the world. You're the best Rachel in the world too, right? You're the best Rachel you can be. It sounds
Oh
like,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Not perfect, just
No,
awesome. Yeah.
no, no. And you are proof that there doesn't have to be a breakdown to be passionate about the skills because there never was a
Oh yeah.
breakdown, right?
Right. No. And I have friends who also are very passionate about the skills, but never a breakdown. Just, I would say it's the right way to do your marriage. I would say
Right, right, right. As the expert
my,
on your life, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
that's right.
In your
It's the right way to
experience,
do my marriage. Let's say that.
yeah, it's the right way. Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
it resonated for you right away, like part of your brain just really was able to take that in, which I
Yeah.
just think is so cool. I'm like really fascinated about that because I have a theory that I would not have been open to any of my books if I had been handed them before I wrote them. I'd be like, no, I'm not going to do that. You didn't have any of that. There was no part of your brain that was kind of rejecting of some of these
No.
suggestions.
No,
Nothing.
no, the reason I love the skills is because it's all about self-growth, and it really has nothing to do with your husband. And that's why you can do the skills anywhere in your life, and I do it all over the place. And and it's really just about staying true to yourself, like you always say, staying on your own paper, like doing what you have control over. And I just love that, like, because we don't have control over so many things except for how we show up. So for me, it was just like, wow, I can, like you said, it's the best self-improvement program. So it's like, why wouldn't I want to be the best person that I can be? So, and it makes me so happy. It makes me so happy to read the books, to listen to your podcast. It just, the whole thing just makes me so happy.
I love it. I love it. Well, I think that's so cool. I do. Yeah, I feel like it's so special because, for me, I was just motivated by pain. I was in a lot of pain that brought me to the skills. And I just think you're so cool for just being so open and so not just open, but like Like you're like, yay, you're enthusiastic about practicing the skills and becoming the best wife. And because of that, I've got to give you this award. I'd like to give you this award, Rachel.
Oh, thank
It says,
you.
I mean, it's like made for you. Best wife, right? And so I think you've really earned it. Like I hear so much, you've invested so much um of yourself, your time, your money, right? Your family money into being the best wife you can be. And I'm just so full of admiration for you that that's what you've done. How do you think this is affecting I mean, you have a newborn, basically. Yeah, she's a newborn. How old is your daughter?
12 days.
It's 12 days. And here you are on the podcast. I love that. So, but how do you think it'll affect your daughter, or how do you see that impacting her? You shared a little bit about like being really respectful of your husband's fathering, but do you see any other impact for her that you're practicing all these skills?
Yeah, I constantly think about how she's just so lucky that she has parents with such a good marriage. Um, and um, I don't really know how it's gonna, I mean, I'm sure it will be great for her. Um, yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah, fair. It's only been 12 days since you asked. It's kind of early to say. I
Yeah,
guess I guess one thing that strikes me though is you'll be the role model. You'll always be the role model for your daughter of
yeah,
what it looks like to be a really terrific keeper of the relationship.
yeah. Well, I know one thing. I'm gonna always be, I mean, hopefully, what I want to do is prioritize myself. And I know many people give their all to their kids, which is great, but then they lose themselves. So, and then the kid doesn't have a mother. So, I hope to always give, or a good marriage, because if you're just giving and giving and giving and you don't do the self-care part, then just everyone loses. So I think that that will be really nice for her to have a happy mother. You
That's
know,
awesome. I love that. You just reminded me of an expression I heard about sometimes women honor their children and parent their husbands
right?
instead of the other way around, right? And you
I
are just
know. And you wrote that in your book, The Empowered Wife. And so that actually kind of freaked me out because when I had the baby, like 2 seconds later, I'm like, oh my gosh, am I honoring my husband? Am I honoring my daughter and parenting my husband? Like literally like 2 minutes after I gave birth, I'm already like I'm already going into all this. Like, and I hope I'm gonna be a good wife still. And how could I feed my baby if my husband, and maybe I'm not giving enough to my husband, and maybe I'm parenting him and honor and the whole that whole thing. And then I have the skills, I worked through it really fast. And I came out with that there's no such thing as working on your marriage. There's only, and this is actually from coach training. So um, Coach Shani told me that there's no such thing as working on your marriage. It is only prioritizing yourself. So that's what I just was saying, that like we're not painting a picture here. We're not building a sculpture. Um, we're being kind to ourselves. And once you are that happy person, your husband is magnetized to you. And obviously it's okay to feed your baby and you're not insulting your husband. So yeah, and then I have this SFP. After the baby, my marriage just got a trillion times better. So we're just keep going up. That's our marriage. It just keeps getting better no matter if we have a baby and even if I'm not perfect. So even
so
if I feed the
inspiring.
baby, our marriage is still going up.
Rachel, I love that. What a great Yeah. I am really just bowled over by how wise you are. Like I think I envy you just knowing all that you know and being so smart about choosing your focus so wisely at such a young age, such an early stage in your marriage, and as a young mother of a newborn, congratulations on all that you've created in your home. It's just absolutely beautiful, gorgeous. Well done.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for sharing your story, being so brave and stretching and, yeah, making your husband proud and coming on today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
If you'd like to be my guest on the Empowered Wife podcast and share about how you fixed a struggling relationship using the 6 intimacy skills, I would love to interview you. Just go to lauradoyle.org/podcast-guest to let me know that you are willing to make a big contribution to ending world divorce by telling your relationship story. I look forward to meeting you. That's lauradoyle.org/podcast-guest. Listen and subscribe to the Empowered Wife podcast. Next week's podcast, we're going to reveal the top 5 lessons from 200 Empowered Wife podcasts. My whole podcast team is going to be sharing, including my husband, John. He's going to be a guest on the show. In the meantime, I hope you're having lots of fun. Today's fun fact is that I'm lagging on a couple of writing projects that I should be doing. But in unrelated news, my tea caddy is so organized.